Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's good again to be here. I was reading inside my house a few minutes ago. It's back a little bit chilly here in Florida today, and it's wet again. It gave us another heavy rain, and so we're dealing with rain and cold again. But I'm looking at the first chapter of Galatians, and there was a verse or two that I noticed that I thought that maybe could be talked about a little bit and put to rest, so to speak. Paul was talking to these Galatians, and he wanted to make sure that they was aware that there was only one gospel, just one. And he wanted them Galatians to be aware that there was only one gospel. And he was speaking to them, and he says, and I'm going to pick up in verse 8. Now, let me just read it real quick. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. It's so tempting to preach an easier gospel. It's easy to preach a watered down gospel. It's easy to preach a denominational gospel. But there's only one gospel. The people who preach has to be faithful to preach the one gospel. It can't be a gospel for this group over here and for that group over there. There has to be only one gospel. And that's what it's talking about. It says, but though we, now, who is he basically depending on? He's using the word we as including himself. Paul is the one that is doing the talking in Galatians. He's talking to the brethren that are in Galatia. It says that in verse 2. He's letting it be known here, but though we or an angel from heaven, and that is what sort of made me think a little bit. We think of an angel from heaven as an angel that comes from God. But there was an angel from heaven that didn't come from God. That angel of heaven was actually Lucifer or Satan. Now, is Paul saying here, but though we or an angel from heaven? You know, Satan's job is to dilute the gospel. There's only one gospel. Is it his job to weaken the gospel? Sure it is. Anytime you weaken a medicine, I have two medicines that I take, and I don't take them like I'm supposed to. I take one of the medicines one night. The next night, I take the other medicine, and I go back and forward, because I don't want to have a buildup of that medicine by me taking it once every day. I want to take one night. I want to take the other one the other night. That way, I'm taking the very lowest dosage I can get by with, and it seems to be working in the medicines that I take. So I've elected to sort of weaken down the medicine in that regard. But the Lord does not want us to weaken down the gospel. number one, you can't weaken down the gospel if you're really preaching the gospel, because the gospel, according to this, if we preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you. See, he's saying here there's only one gospel that we've preached. Now, is he referring to Paul? Is he referring to some of the others? Timothy? Is he referring to other people that is along with him? I mean, it very well could be that he's referring to other men along with Paul. So he's not just saying the we, but could he be meaning the we far as Paul and the Spirit of God? Because it says we, but though we or an angel from heaven, the angel from heaven came with an influence to the world. Now, is that what Paul was referencing to? No, here's what I think he's saying. But though we or an angel from heaven, meaning I think what he's doing, he's including everybody. He could have easily said more than that. He could have said, but though we or an angel from heaven or an angel from hell. He could have said that. I think he was basically, it's sort of like taking a road map. I usually have a road map in here. It would be like unfolding the road map and pointing to every place on the road map. So he's including everybody in that road map of what he's talking about here. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached. So what did Paul preach? Well, he preached the gospel of the fact that Jesus lived. He lived for 33 years. Y'all hear me say this every time I go through the gospel. He saw his ministry. He was in his ministry for 3 years of the end of his life. He saved people. He healed people. He gave people hope. He came to be the Father's witness. And then at the end of his life is when they crucified him. The Bible says that they crucified him on a cross, and they did. The Bible says that he was put inside of a tomb, and he was. And the Bible also says that God raised him from the dead. That's what Romans 10 and verse 9 says. And the Bible says that he was raised by God. God raised him from the dead. He left this world. He went back into the place of heaven to prepare a place that the Bible says he's gone to prepare a place. And that's where he is today. He is preparing that place, getting it ready. Whatever he's doing, he's getting it ready, because there's going to be a party that's going to come. And the time of that party is going to be a great supper. And the Lord is going to send Jesus back to this world to get his church for the ones who believe in him. See, the gospel that Paul preached is the death, burial, and resurrection. All he expects you and I to do is to hear the gospel. John 5:24 makes it very clear. You hear the words of Christ. And John 5:24 says, and you believe the words of Christ. It's not based on our righteousness. It's not based on your righteousness. It's not based on your good works. Works ain't got nothing to do with it. Ephesians 2, 8 and 9 says, for by grace are we saved through faith, and that not of ourselves, it is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. See, a lot of people get hung up because they feel like they've got to do something to warrant this gift that God is willing to give. I got a Christmas gift when I was just 4, 5, and 6 years old. But a lot of times them gifts would tear up because I would tear them up. But I still got the gift handed to me, even though I was hard on my toys that I had. I would end up breaking them toys. It wasn't measured by if I was going to break it or not. It was measured on the fact that it was given to me in love because my parents loved me. So see, I was given a gift not based on my merit. You know, we got this thing and this idea that, you know, when Santa Claus comes to town, you better be good in order for Santa to come by and give you something. And we always hear that if you're not good, Santa won't come. Well, a lot of people has taken the gospel of Santa Claus that I've got to earn my way. I've got to work for my way. I got to live holy for my way. I got to live righteous for my way to get to heaven. You know what you're actually doing when you add anything to Jesus Christ? You know what you're actually doing? You're actually telling Jesus that you ain't enough. That's what you're telling Jesus. You're telling Jesus that there's things that I have to do. And it might be as simple as things that I might have to agree with and I might have to accept. But anything that we add to the gospel makes it another gospel. If Paul would have added one other little thing to the gospel, then it would have changed the gospel altogether. You don't have a right to change the gospel. I don't have a right to change the gospel. The gospel is what Paul preached, and he stayed with that policy all of his whole life. Everywhere in these books that Paul wrote, from the Romans to the Corinthians to the Ephesians, Galatians, Philippians, Colossians, Timothy, all of these books that he wrote down for us, the Thessalonians. My, I probably am forgetting a few of them, I guess. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament that we have today, that we can sense that there's only one gospel. Paul even said in one place here, I know nothing except Jesus and him crucified. Meaning he only had one gospel. That was the death, burial, and resurrection. If anyone tells you that you've got to live a certain way, then basically what they're telling you is, they're telling you something more than what Jesus said, because Jesus himself said to hear the word and believe the word in your heart. Hear the word and believe what the word said. Some people think that heaven's going to be based on perfection. Well, let me just set the record straight. If it's going to be based on perfection, then that means that there ain't going to be a whole lot of mansions in heaven, because I don't know of a lot or any perfect people down here in this life. There's going to be people, now hear me and hear me good, there's going to be people that is going to get a limited reward because of the fact that they had a limited faith and a limited love for the Lord. They didn't witness. They didn't testify. They didn't read their Bible like they should have. They didn't turn their testimony into lively words. See, some people comes and they're probably going to say, Ken, you take it one step too far. You do a message every day. Let me tell you something. I wish more preachers would do a message every day. I think that if we was to all come out here, the ones that has been given a calling of God to use their media platform like I use mine, if you was to see a lot more preachers instead of waiting to Sunday to bring their message, what's wrong with bringing a message that would encourage someone through the week? What's wrong with that? I eat every day. I eat 3 times a day most of the time. So why wouldn't I want to come out here, just like when I found this verse right here, why wouldn't I want to come out and talk about this verse that would help someone to understand that there's only one gospel? There's not a Church of God gospel. There's not a full gospel. There's not a part gospel. There's not a Baptist gospel. There's not a Pentecostal gospel. There's not a Assembly of God gospel. There's one gospel. It's only one. Christ died for the one gospel that Paul spoke about. Yet a lot of people will make fun of Paul because they'll say, well, Paul wasn't really all that much of a godly man, that he was a human like we are. Yes, he was. But this man, Saul, before he turned into Paul, was told the Lord, he said, Lord, what would you have me to do? What do you want me to do, Lord? That's where his ministry got started from, where he knew what the gospel was. And today, he is the author of the gospel everywhere you look in the Bible. 1 Corinthians 15, 1-4 is a great place. Some people says that Jesus spilled his blood. No, Jesus didn't spill his blood. Jesus shed his blood on Calvary when they put nails into his hands and they put the crown of thorn on his heads. That's what made him shed the blood. The open wounds on the back that he toted the cross, the whipping that he had, the nails in his feet, the torture he had went through, the mocking that he had went through, all brought out the gospel. And you know what Jesus is simply saying to us today through his word? Only the gospel is going to get you to heaven. Your works ain't going to get you there. I could do good works all day long, and them good works is not going to get me there. What is going to get us there? He says here, but though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel other unto you than that which ye have preached unto you, let him be accursed. Meaning anybody that changes the gospel, let them get a curse put on them. That's what the Bible's saying. Let them be accursed. If they gonna have the audacity to change my gospel and to change my salvation plan, then Paul says, let them be accursed. And I believe that that's exactly the reason we don't see the evidence of the church growing like it should grow today, is because we got a lot of people that are accursed trying to bring out a private gospel, and the private gospel don't work. It just don't work. And you know what? The reason I know that this is important in what I'm saying, because the next verse is even a witness to that verse. If you look at verse 9, it says, as we said before. He's repeating the verse again. As we said before, so say I now again. He's re-emphasizing the one gospel. If any man preach any other gospel unto you than that ye have received, let him be accursed. Evidently, this man here wanted to emphasize that there ain't but one gospel. And that one gospel is going to get you to heaven. You believe that he lived and that he died and that he rose again. And that the Bible says that he is in heaven today, preparing a place for the people that believe the gospel, that believe that he lived, that believe that he died, to believe that he rose again, and he's on the right hand of God the Father. And you know what's going to take place very soon? He's going to return. Jesus is going to return, and he's going to come get his church, the ones that believe in the one gospel. The one gospel, if you preach in another gospel and that gospel is accursed, then it only makes sense to believe that the one gospel will not be accursed. The one gospel is going to stand when the world's on fire. That's what gospel is going to stand. So do you want the gospel to stand today? Do you want the Lord to be over your life to the point that he knows exactly what you have need of? Just remember, there's only one gospel. And I'm willing to help you to find that gospel. Give me a call. The website is Elderly Ministry. You're welcome to give me a call anytime, day or night. This is the YouTube channel. You can get on YouTube and find the phone number. I have it printed there in the About Us section. You can go there and look that up right there. There's a phone number there. The website is there. There's a cell number there. You can call me. I'd love for you to call me. But you need to leave a message when you call. That'll let me know to return your call. I need a message when you call, anytime that you need. If you need a gospel tract, if you need a little New Testament like this, whatever it is that you need that I can do for you and take the Bible and walk you through the plan of salvation, it's just like looking at a road map. The highway to heaven is a road map that gets you there, and there's only one way you can get there, and that's the gospel. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I don't care what Harvey says. I don't care what he says. There's one way to go to heaven, and only one. And there's going to be a lot of people that's going to miss the boat because they believed somebody like Steve. And it ain't going to work. Don't do that. Call me. Talk to me. I'll be there if I can help. Thank y'all for watching.